The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Language of Healing. Friday, July 16th, and I'm here with my friend Melanie. Today we're talking about resting with malaise and what malaise means and maybe the general feelings that have been a theme, I believe a theme that's been up in the air lately. Also very smoky skies here in Calgary, Alberta. Lots of forest fires burning in BC on the west, over 1,000 of them. So smells like a campfire, but we can't actually burn campfires right now.
No.
So Melanie, she's here with me today and is such a good dear friend of mine. We studied traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture together and went and studied in Beijing, China-Japan Friendship Hospital in Beijing. That was, in like 2013, right?
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Eight years ago. We spent 24/7 together for 3 months almost.
Yeah,
Yep.
we did.
We're bonded for life.
Yeah, being this close together is no problem at all. Especially crammed on the, little buses and
Subway.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the subway. Oh, wow. Subway stations in Asia.
And elevators.
Yeah. Wow. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're both practicing acupuncturists and working with people, as our profession, right? And hearing some of these uneasy feelings of discomfort, tension, anxiety, depression, out of sorts, a general feeling of an unwellness without really knowing why, there's a lot going on. So obviously that's at play, but to really pinpoint it is difficult. And that's why the word malaise really stands out to be a well-encompassing word to describe all of that. Okay. So what are your thoughts?
Let's hear global pandemic, right? We're still in it, fully in it. We haven't, even with everyone getting vaccinated and like the Western world and Western Hemisphere, we're still wearing masks. It's still not over. So it's, brought that feeling of life is still not back to normal and it's not back to what we thought it would be. And it's hard to just live in the present. I don't know. It's been hard to live in the present because we're still worried about the future. We're still traumatized by this whole thing that happened with so much fear around it. And just in the treatment room, everyone's just feeling kind of this weird angst that they generally didn't have before, because I've been seeing patients for a long time. And they're coming in going, I'm getting this anxiety and just feeling of, they don't know why. They can't even describe it or put it into words.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, definitely it's hard right now to plan for the future. I mean, maybe as things, I don't know if they're opening up, we kind of like waffle between like open, close. And it's a slow course back moving forward, but we're living in an unknown time. So, from, psychological perspective, there's like that unconscious realm that is a bit scary, and it brings up a lot of the shadowy bits and things that are difficult to pinpoint or really put words words to, because they're kind of our blind spots, right? And we revert back to being about 4 or 5 years old when our subconscious ego is forming, and we're like still not sure about stuff. So we're looking to our parents and adults to help us move forward. Okay, this is what we do. But there's no one really like, okay, this is what we do. We're all just, the ball is spinning and we keep going with it is very present. I think there's that sense. But anyway, the anxiety of not really like knowing the future steps, like planning a holiday. I mean, Mel and I both love to travel, and it just seems a little bit like too much work right now.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, even if you're vaccinated and you have to pay for COVID tests here and there, like out of a country, into a country, rules are changing on a daily basis. So yeah, it's just too much work to do that right now for me anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that uneasy. I mean, we all are really present because we've had to be. And a lot of us also don't know what it feels like to be present. So that's also another uncomfortable.
Yeah, because presence, it really requires you to be in your body, like feeling like, and when I say in your body, it's like this feeling of rest, like you can just settle in. Sometimes I like to imagine that I have a helmet on my head, because otherwise my body just feels like it's kind of floating in like this, space above my head. And that's where a lot of worry and restlessness, anxiety lives. And from Chinese medicine perspective, like the heart is the Shen is the main spirit that, like kind of comes in the body, and you feel settled, that, that peace and joy. And so I think that's one good way to get through it, or to be present, is to really breathe and let it sink into your sit bones, right? Like, and Qigong and yoga, there's so many different philosophies, I guess, that speak about the lower dantian, or that lower root area just below your belly button, but also down and back a little bit more into your pelvis. And that is like present moment space.
And I think we're coming into a big awareness of that too, because everywhere I've been going, before you didn't hear about pelvic floor specialists.
Right.
And now it's like a catch term for everything pelvic. Like there's so many, I don't know, it just dawned on me yesterday when I was driving around, and I was seeing like different clinics everywhere that are pelvic floor specialists now. So I think we're all maybe focusing on that, which is a good thing. Again, treating people in the treatment room, we get a lot of people in who are not living in their bodies. So first treatment is usually getting people very present with their bodies. And unfortunately, that means you might feel some pain. You might feel some more anxiety. It's like going for a counseling session the first time and it's lovely, but then the second one, you actually have to do a little bit of work. I pre-warn people that that's kind of how this medicine works.
Things might come up.
Might come up,
but that's good, because then you shed light on it. You can work with it. Okay, so a big part about malaise, this feeling is like not being resistant to it either. That's a big step in how to feel restful with discomfort, right? Like easy with the unease. And really
that's hard to do. It's hard to accomplish because
totally.
You're in this undescribed feeling, which none of us have ever had, including psychologists. I have a few patients who are doctors of psychology, and they're feeling the same way, and they're looking at their mentors and old teachers. But again, this is something so new on a global scale in all of our lifetimes that none of us have fortunately had to deal with until now. So on a global scale, we have a feeling of malaise, and it's totally ripped the lid off of so many things. So many different movements have started because of COVID.
Well, because like when you're not rested or have that root base, like you're not really grounded, or it's just kind of floaty. And COVID, or the whole pandemic, really, it showed a lot of weak points. Like it showed where the systems were weak, like in all aspects. And I mean, we work with the body specifically. So, you know, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical bodies are, yeah, kind of it's exposing. It's a vulnerable space. So how do you feel like rested and safe and secure and comfortable in and amongst all that? And I think it's, yeah, obviously we're having this conversation because it's not just you and I. There's lots of people that we're talking with that are also feeling this sentiment. So yeah, there's some ways. I mean, obviously getting acupuncture and taking some herbs. Herbs are really nice, can be nice to get you back in your body or like feel restful, get a good sleep, have good digestion, because when you're stressed and that worry and anxiety, it really affects digestion too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just bleeds in together.
The easiest thing, I give my patients all homework, and the first thing I do is I get them to set their phones 3 times a day, especially if they're working in an office or whatever, home, and I get them to start breathing. Breathing is like the key one thing that we can all easily do. I find that we're all breathing in that really shallow, short breath that puts us right into sympathetic, which is fight or flight, freeze. And we live in that, and we shouldn't be living in that. That was to help us, like, you know, run away from a bear and get to safety. But unfortunately, we're living in that. So once you stop and start actually breathing and nourishing all of your other bits everywhere, digestion, like all of those things kind of fall into line when you actually start to breathe.
Right.
Simple.
Right. Yeah.
Easy.
It is the easiest way to change our brain chemistry and nervous system, calm the nervous system, and recenter yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's about. It's like, you know, the Dharma wheel. Is that what it is? Or the, you know, Buddha talks about there's the wheel that's spinning all the time, but you want to be in the center,
Mm-hmm.
like not outside,
spinning around. Yeah.
not outside on the spokes, you know, like going for the ride.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, chaos. Yeah. Yeah. So staying centered, you know, but there's, I think then, okay, you're centered. That's one thing. You're present. Okay. Now what is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
Which is really difficult to get a grasp around, you know, but I think, you know, even if everything is up in the air, you can still choose to know what you want, you know, and then have a powerful intention. And that sets some framework for a goal, I guess, or something to look forward to.
But yeah, kind of getting centered though is the key, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we want when we're all
exactly.
out here.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Too many things are flitting through your
step
mind.
Is being present.
Being present and just getting centered and not being afraid of just that kind of stillness that our mind creates all the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting that stillness and going, okay, this is kind of a break from, you know, that inner urgency to keep doing things, because we are in such a culture of doing instead of just being.
Right.
And I use those terms all the time because we're all guilty of that. It's like, let's just keep filling our empty space and time with something. And it's like, no, we actually need to take time and fill us with that empty space. Like, just be present.
Right. Or just be empty.
Yeah.
You know, because like that's when things can come in.
Yes.
You know, so even if you're asking, like, I don't know what I want, you know, but then just keep distracting yourself with like filling, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. But if you were to sit and be in your belly, in your body.
Yeah, you get those.
And just let the space.
Yeah, and those momentary lapses of aha moments, right? Yeah. So whatever that is, if it's outside in nature, gardening, walking, just being present, not listening to headphones, like literally listening to the earth and what's around you, the birds, just the wind in the trees, and feeling, if you can, like walk on some grass, some dirt, like really, really connect with the earth. Because that's our biggest grounding, is connecting with nature and the earth to get us back to center again.
Mm-hmm. And this feeling of like the malaise and melancholy, that's a very earthy spleen, stomach energy from Chinese medicine. It's we have the 5 elements, right? But you could see the four elements are maybe the directions, and then the 5th one being like the earth, and it's often placed in the center. So it's kind of like that middle of the wheel we're talking about, and then the rest is on the spokes spinning, and they're all dynamically moving within one another. But it's
we're also in the time of the spleen right now too in Chinese medicine. We're in summer.
Yeah, summer.
So
that's heart's fire energy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, later part is spleen.
Later summer.
Spleen, yeah.
But I mean, it's always that place. So then, but that it adds extra fire and heat. And I mean, look at, like, we got the sky on fire here. There's a lot of fire energy, and fire, I mean, it will create that restlessness and, I don't know, urgency.
That inner urgency to always do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it like also dries everything up. So you get a bit more stagnant or dry, dryness. And, but the benefit of that is, like, after the forest burns, the soil really gets to regenerate and build and nourish. And that's actually like what we'll go into then in the late summer is more of that energy. So, even if it's like the malaise lasts some time, there might be a period, right, of a feeling of even confusion, right? Like, what is going on? Everything's up in the air. So,
well, yeah. And again, it's kind of like a really interesting pause because people have had some time. They're not commuting. They're working from home, and they've really had that pause too to go, things weren't working for me. So let's do some big changes. So people it's been a big pivot year for a lot of people too.
Okay,
pivots, whatever,
from friends.
Yeah.
Pivot.
But yeah, it's been kind of that too, where people are changing careers, going back to school, like just really figuring things out. And because we can do this all on Zoom and different things, you don't have to move to a different city, country, whatever, to study what you need to study right now. So it's kind of an interesting,
there's also part of that. I think, like, working from home makes people work more. Maybe there's some parts. I mean, some workloads have gotten more because there's less boundaries. Oh, you're home. Like, I know you're home.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's anytime, right? Anytime. There's nothing really going on. But so that is interesting because when we go, so this whole past like year and a half, we have been more focused on finding that center or something that like keeps us routine and like moving forward, not getting stuck. And through that, you're connecting more with yourself. I mean, whether you know it or not, you're asking those questions. What is important to me? What do I value? What do I want to prioritize? How might I want my life to look like now that I've, because it was a bit of a I don't know, a pause, I guess. I don't know if that a pause, but like a breath, and like there's like actually a lot of value in pausing for that spaciousness. But so now we're seeing like people rethink what they're doing, more valued. And I think that's one of the benefits you were talking about, of this. All of this is that chance to explore.
Well, and get rid of the things that aren't serving you.
Right.
And finding things that will serve you. Mm-hmm. And I guess just make life better, because that's what all of this is about, is, having a fulfilled life and
so interesting the year. Okay. So Chinese astrology here, we'll just talk about that for a second, because it's very interesting in the theme of the time and space that we're living in. That, it was year of the rat. So that was like January, February, 2020, I believe that turned over. And the year of the rat, so now we're in the ox, right? Like we're in 2021, but the rat is the first of 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac. So it begins the new cycle, so 1 to 12. And then every 12 years, we switch element. So February 2020 or January, I forget.
I think it was February.
Okay. We entered the rat and the metal element, which is, in organs terms, it's the lung, large intestine, breathing in, letting go. And I like to view the metal element as the mountains, because we're so close to the Rocky Mountains, and that's where like minerals are, and it's very metal. right?
Yeah.
Mountains. And the analogy of when you're climbing a mountain, you have to travel pretty light. Like you need good breath. You need to be light, so not like carrying more than you need. And so that theme of climbing the mountain, and it's very spiritual. Metal element is very like alchemical, right? It's like turning rock to gem to back into water, I guess, as the cycle goes.
Yeah.
But so for the next 12 years, or 11 years now, this is the theme of being more connected to your values, what's important to you, letting go what doesn't serve you. And
wow, that really
great.
shook everything up last year then at this time, didn't it?
Yeah, like there was already a lot going on with the themes, but then it was just really thrown in our faces. So it's kind of like the aftershock, the aftermath of like trauma, or like, so like PTSD, that post-traumatic stress disorder is like kind of settling in, maybe that feeling of unwell or uneasiness is like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, and because of just the way our society is structured, and we had no concerts, no theater, no arts, no any public gatherings, and we are public people. We touch people, we hug, we do all of that. And we haven't had that we're getting there, but we haven't had that. And was such a like hard, fast rule. It was just done. And I think, that just, again, gave us some space to go, oh, like what is important? And it's a lot of,
who do I want to hug?
Yeah. Right. And who do I actually want to spend my time with? Not just, I feel like I have to go spend my time with someone. And now it's, we're making actual choices to say, you know what, that's not resonating with me. I'm not going to do that anymore. So it's been,
that's a bonus.
And again, that it still is that feeling of malaise, because we still don't know what the future is going to hold at all, even more so than we did before. Because this is kind of throwing in a big, wrench in the wheel to make everything kind of stop and realize, oh, maybe things weren't going so well before, or maybe they were, and we'll follow that up. I don't know. Like it's kind of like just throwing like just water up and seeing where it all lands,
Right. And then once it lands, there's like the splashback, right? Or like the dust when you sweep the rug, or like sweep. Sorry, not under the rug, but
no, we've been doing that for far too long. Things have all come up now.
Removing the rug and sweeping underneath all the years of sweeping under the rug. And that's pretty dusty. And then it, like, you sweep most of it up, but there's always that like little remnant of it, right? Like that you have to then like keep sweeping. And so there's just the phases. It's cyclical, right? Like, and so malaise is really just a cycle as well. There's the opposite of that, comfort and rest, security,
and again,
excitement, joy.
But it's also made you go, okay, really like let's get present to get some balance again.
Yeah. I guess kind of on that topic too, like, because when things are really repressed, so a huge part of this is just accepting, right? Like resistance is futile. Like resistance will stick around. So there's that coming to acceptance, to like level of opening to it, even though it's uncomfortable. Kind of forget where I was going with that, but
well, that's kind of malaise, like, right there.
Yeah. So just that it's the yin and the yang, the polarity, negative, positive. So it's ups and downs.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going into though, like, because when it's really repressed, and then, as we know, like depression comes from that, like repressed anger, frustration, even like grief, that you sweep under the rug for so long. And just the rates of suicide alone are just so, like, I guess that's a hard one. And I think it affects so many people, and, through connections, and it's difficult though, but I can really sometimes like feel that how you can get there. Right. And That's a really difficult place to be. So,
well, and something
know.
I think that this has brought out is like our mental health is as equally important as all of our other aspects of health. Like our physical health, our spiritual health, and our mental health is now like that has been blown up over this whole thing too. Because
I know what was like, it was kind of weird, and well, not weird, but I mean, do you remember like in the hospital, like women would come in or people would say like, oh, so stressed. And it's just kind of like brushed off.
Yeah. Like get over it.
Yeah. I mean, not that it's not relevant, but there's like, okay, well, I mean, maybe there's just always stress. It's like, how is your body coping with that or handling it? What coping mechanisms are you using when you're confronted with a stressful or like challenging, difficult emotions or time, or
which we do have. I mean, that's part of life, is just there is like hills and valleys and mountains and sometimes like really deep pits that we will fall into because that is life. Like life is not linear. It's not just gray, even though that's how we're kind of feeling.
That's okay. So Melanie is also interior designer.
My background is art.
I've of course she painted this behind us here.
So I remember taking some interesting classes, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the colors that come out every year in women's clothing, fashion, cars is all delegated and discussed by some pretty huge mentors in the color industry. I know it sounds weird, but there is a whole World Color Council. And if you look and see what cars and what colors, usually it's the car industry, the automotive industry first, what colors are cars coming out with, then it usually hits women's fashions and then it hits interior design. But if you're looking at brand new cars right now, have a look and see of the colors. It's been a huge shift in colors from our beautiful like jewel tones and bright colors, from all hued down with a lot of gray. So instead of a bright yellow car, it'll be a really gray yellow car, or bright blue, it'll be a really gray blue or gray green. And yeah, I've just noticed that because they're standing out because we've had so much bright jewel tones and saturated colors for so long that we're heading into this weird gray tone again, which
is it like kind of matted, matted.
Yeah, like not a lovely color.
Lusterless,
lifeless, like really muted colors. Yeah.
But I was just reminded of that when we were talking about like, there are ups and downs, and life isn't really plateau flatlined, but maybe the gray phase is a little bit above, right? Like is a bit of a middle ground.
Oh, absolutely.
Like as we kind of, I don't know, just.
I mean, we all go in like different color, combinations. Like in the early 90s or late 90s, it was very grays. Taupe was like the color for everything.
Yeah.
And then we started to break off into more earth tones. And then we broke into like the last while, like those jewel tones, those bright saturated emeralds and, ceruleans and all of that. And now we're back, like we're into this really muted grayscale.
Okay, so then speaking of color, what might be some good color therapy? Okay, and also you just took a really exciting weekend workshop with sound acutonics, sound healing, but sound, has vibration and frequency, but also colors. So I'm curious to know your thoughts around maybe what colors would be good to balance out, and then tell us a little bit about acutonics and.
Oh, that's just a huge.
I know. Right? Okay, sorry, it's too.
That's big. We'll do color first. I'm comfortable talking about that. See what you're attracted to. Like, go get a paint fan. Go to the hardware store and look at what is available right now, and throw some color. Go buy some color. Whether it's a blanket or clothing or whatever, whatever you want to shop in. But, and see what makes you comfortable. See what kind of gets you excited about like what colors that you like. Like some people just love saturated colors and bright mustard yellows and all of that. And then some people, myself, I like real deep, like rich colors and jewel tones and blacks and not grays. And I don't know, like it's really interesting to see colors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like, and see where you're at on that color wheel and see I know you can like look up like what are the colors of this year, because they will pick a Pantone color as well. They usually, last year they actually had two. One was a yellow and one was, I think, a weird gray. And now it's kind of saturated into all of those colors into muted. So it'll be interesting to see what that comes up with.
Hmm. Yeah, and I know I heard that the fashion around, the business casual at a whole new level,
Level of
sweatsuits. Yeah. Well, so I think it's like this trying to find a level of comfort in amongst the whole.
Even the fashion industry, because everyone's been working from home, like globally.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to business owner that has a like professional women's and men's clothing store, and she's had to totally refocus, because even people going back into the workplace, maybe that whole rich, wealthy suit and power suit is going to be something of the past, and we're going to be seeing a whole new trend. I don't know what that is,
Right?
But maybe it'll be sweatsuits. I don't know, but comfort is a thing,
Like a pinstripe sweatsuit,
right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think a lot of minds too we're starting. It's a good time of rebirth, I think,
Yeah, I know, like reaching a flat line almost, just to bring it up to some kind of balance, and then
we'll see, things go again. And because this has also brought up so much old trauma that we don't know how to deal with. That we're actually starting to deal with. I mean, counselor, and again, bringing that stigma away from mental health, that we're all getting healthy mentally. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We need to like cleanse. It's almost like, okay, I love the Ho'oponopono. Do you know this practice? It comes from Hawaii, and it was traditionally, from my understanding, like it means to make things rightly right. So if there's a conflict, it's always about finding resolution. And so they would use, in the tribe or the villages, that would come together kind of in a circle and resolve an issue and speak about it, or do their, some practices around clearing that. So it's all about like kind of clean slate. Like the more stuff you hang on, the more debris you have, the more you have to let go of. That harder the mountain is to climb.
And I think too, with globally, what's happened is, we started with the women's Me Too movement. Like, it really is, this pandemic has blown the lid off of all that stuff we've been shoving underneath the carpet, and now we've ripped the carpet back, and there's all of these things that have been percolating for a long time.
It's like, ew.
And now we're actually dealing with a lot of dark shadow, right?
Yeah.
Like the Me Too movement opened up things for the Black Lives Matter movement, which has now opened up space for healing in Canada and the States too, but our Indigenous, which has been like, that has been blown out of our history now. Like it's very upfront. It's what everyone's kind of talking about. And again, it's all of these things are really sad, dark things of our past that we're actually having to deal with, because we're all done putting it under the carpet. So I think even in relationships, there's been a lot of divorce over pandemics, because people have been actually kind of trapped into, if they're living at home, they're not going to the office, so they actually have to deal with stuff, and divorce rates are up. So I think it's which I don't think is a bad thing. It means we're working through things for, I think, more global improvement on us as species. I'm hoping.
Right. Well, I believe in the Indigenous culture with with healing with the 4 directions, the fire is like the end of the cycle. Like, so it's like everything has to kind of come to a head and burn, and then to finish and resolve. Right. It's like, yeah.
But I mean, that's even with 5 elements, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because fire generates earth.
Yeah.
Earth generates metal. Metal generates water. Water generates wood.
Right.
And then we keep going around. So
yeah.
But with it's crazy with all the Indigenous stuff that's happened in BC.
Everyth's coming.
And now everything's burning.
On fire. Yeah. It's interesting to notice how some of these connections from like our, the medicine we study and practice is so, over 5,000 year. Well, I mean, it's very closely related to some of these traditions that would observe natural cycles and progressions. And I mean, so there's like a level of acceptance we can get around that bigger picture of it, because, okay, it might be uncomfortable now, but to have it all exposed and cleared is good, because then you have like there's all sorts of amazing things that grow after a fire on the earth, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I think that's where we're at kind of almost a reimagining of what our lives will look like, because again, it's given us this pause. Maybe we didn't like the industry and what we were doing. So now it's like, you know what, let's take time and let's go back to school. Because I think school enrollment for post-secondary is up huge. I think so many people have decided to, go back to school and learn something in this kind of pause that we've had, because they weren't happy with what they were doing. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah,
I did hear that too. Lots of people are changing jobs, looking for something new path. But why not invent ourselves after the fire?
After the big
like set it all ablaze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Do you want to talk about like how we can like start to feel a little more centered? Or
well, yeah, I mean, definitely.
I mean, we have brought up we have brought up things like
that. What else do you have?
Well, of course, like totally communing with nature, going to see the right professionals to help you if you're feeling really, really stuck, whether that's psychology, body workers, acupuncturists, massage, like it just depends. Doctors, it doesn't matter. Just go get checked out, like go get things if things aren't feeling right. So yeah, professionals like ourselves. And like honestly, really getting into nature, taking that time, whether it's 10 minutes just to go outside and listen to the wind, listen to the birds, feel that grass on your feet, Yeah,
and that's where traditional Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophies like medicines are really cool, because we take a look at your internal environment versus external environment, and really can find a lot of patterns that won't show up in your blood work, or that won't show up as a symptom yet. Maybe anything more than, oh, my stomach's upset or I can't sleep. It's like, oh, well, what's going on? Curious. Yeah. So of course that works. And just, yeah, I mean, emotional wisdom training too is really good. Working with your languaging and your feelings and thoughts and beliefs is important as well. And learning how to respond more wisely to your emotions versus reacting emotionally. And that takes centering, right? That takes presence and being home, let's call it, in your body to make wiser, more resourceful choices, right?
Yeah, as opposed to, a knee-jerk reaction where you explode or whatever, or always feel the victim. I found that just with my experiences when, unpleasant things happen and life happens that aren't really pleasant, that really stress you out in the moment, you can take that role as victim and keep like victimizing yourself. But if you actually take that and kind of put it in a different concept or construct in your mind and go, okay, well, what is the world offering me? Like, what can we actually, what is a blessing out of this? And that's usually when things really start to change and you open it up to some really positive changes that will happen. Again, stuff happens that isn't pleasant, but if we kind of just be like water in nature and kind of flow with it, we usually get what we really wanted, like our deepest desire, what we really wanted. That's usually what manifests out of that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
To me, when I think about desire, it has a very water-like quality. Like I don't know why I associate those two together, but it's like the depths, like the deep knowing, still water, the desire lives deep
Mhm.
there, and you can only reach that true desire, or your heart's desire, or your true intention, what you really want for yourself, when you go deep and explore some of the things that have been stopping you, that have been getting in your way. And these are like old habits, patterns,
Ego.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
a lot of ego,
Yeah. And especially now with like being in the unknown, the ego wants to be like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
No.
Or, oh, I got this. Like, but the things that we've done in the past don't necessarily work anymore. So I think like having that curious mind, with what other perspectives might there be, or what more space can you breathe into some area of tension, create a little bit more space there. So then something can unwind or unfold, and then that thing can show up, or that like,
Yeah, I know everyone talks about like we're kind of like peeling an onion and each layer. I think onions come apart way too easily. I'm a big fan of like, let's unpeel the cabbage, because you can peel one layer can come off really easily, and you're like, yeah, and then you peel another one and it's all crimbly, and you have to work at it, and things tear, and can be messy. That's life. Onion, way too easy. It's the cabbage.
Okay.
It's the wisdom of the cabbage.
Even like the slimy little bit that doesn't come off the onion really nice, like the little inner film.
But it still comes off easier than a cabbage, right?
Totally.
So I'm like, and I like cabbage.
That rips around. Yeah, cabbage is delicious.
Yeah, so
good for digestion.
Yeah.
It's like the cheapest probiotic, if you boil a cabbage and drink cabbage juice. With Chinese daikon too.
Oh, that's yummy too.
Daikon root. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even like this is called the language of healing. I also think we all need to really focus on poor self-talk. We need to stop that. And we need to really think about the words that we tell ourselves every day. Because language is really powerful. And I mean, we know how powerful language is because we lose so much in translation from Chinese medicine into English. And that's really sad, and vice versa for all things. But language, I think, because there's vibration in language, there's vibration in everything, but language, I think, is a really, really important thing that we really need to watch our words, watch what we say. I don't know. I think that's really, really an important thing.
It's everything. And that's what I love about like neuro-linguistic programming, because it's like reprogramming the brain chemistry, or the patterns, the neural pathways that we tend to go to that are most developed. But that's like negative self-talk or cry. Yeah, I know that's enough, right? But yeah, and we can change it though. That's what's cool and fun, and something to be just mindful of. Yeah. Language is resonant for sure. It has the power of the word, frequencies, and that's what we're kind of talking about here with like emotions have their own frequencies, the colors have a frequency.
Everything has a frequency.
And then, I know we're coming up to the end of the show here. Maybe we should talk about acutonics another time, because that modality it's so vast.
And now sound healing is, I think people are getting more and more aware of sound healing.
But basically acutonics is using acupuncture points. So knowing about the meridian system and the diagnostic principles, and then you use a different frequency on an acupuncture point to put vibration into the body. It's so cool. It's very relaxing, and it's pretty intense.
It's very intense. Well, and I just took a class. It was a 4-day intensive on, and all the new tuning forks were all of our planets in our planetary system, and the archetypes that are mythology from thousands of years old, and how it still is current to our humanity. Like, they're there for a reason. But I think we're also now, we're in that age of, we're talking about now, we're coming into an age of Aquarius as far as a planetary.
Alignments and
like we're
the
age of Aquarius, which is free thinking and a lot more
as we spin. We just naturally go through different cycles.
So we're coming into that age. Which is quite lovely. So
yeah, it's okay to have a bit of downtime. don't resist that downtime, the urge that you might want to have some downtime, or, that it's not productive if you don't do anything. Actually, there's a lot of productivity in rest and stillness and meditation and breathing.
And doing nothing.
And just nothing.
Like
the art
nothing.
of nothing, right?
Because you'd leave that space for things
staring at the wall
to
It's one of my
happen.
favorite activities.
Right? Because we're all so busy on our phones now. When I go wait for an appointment and I'm waiting for someone, I honestly am just staring.
Yeah.
And people probably look at me going, well, what is that chick doing? Because she's just staring into space. Because we have that addiction to our phone, and that we're, again, busy mind. But it's just nice to sit and stare. Like it really is. Give your whole brain, everything a break.
Candle flame. Yep. Okay, so you're Melanie Haggert, Doctor of Traditional Chinese Medicine and Acupuncture, registered massage therapist.
Yeah, I'm an RMT.
It kind of comes part and parcel with everything, working on the body. And yes, Bachelor of Arts and registered herbalist.
I'm a registered herbalist and a acupuncture detox specialist as well.
Detox specialist. Oh yes, you do cool NADA protocol, auricular acupuncture.
Yeah.
And people can find your listeners at auspiciousphoenixacupuncture.com.
Yep.
Auspicious Phoenix Acupuncture, all one word. Yep. And also on Instagram at Auspicious Phoenix Acupuncture.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So there we go. Resting with Malaise. I hope that, brought up some, definitely you're not alone in any spectrum of the vibrational frequency
field. We're not alone. We are all so connected, and we've always been connected.
And that's another thing too. You might be picking up what others in your space are feeling too. So stay centered, breathe.
Go walk in the dirt.
Yeah. Take your shoes off. Get your feet in there.
And it's okay to feel not okay and uncomfortable right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just let, the fires will die down a little bit, of course, as they always will.
Yeah.
Okay. Cleansing and purging and lightening the load, getting rid of what doesn't serve you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks. It was an honor.
Yeah. It was nice to be in your space and surrounded by your beautiful things and cool artistic expressions. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next Friday, and enjoy a nice weekend. What will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life?
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.